You know how Jaguars and Land Rovers make the gear selector rise when you turn the car on? They call it the handshake. True story. Well, some Audis now greet you with a jingle. A serenade, if you like. Which is brilliant, right? Unless it sounds like something else.
What about sunrise? What about...
There you go, Audi A7 owners. I've ruined your car for you. You're welcome. Shamon. Not too long ago, the battle for hearts and minds of people with a bit money to spend on their cars was fought on limited playing fields. See, with one or two exceptions, those people would usually choose between a handful of 3-box saloons, normally German, or if you were a little bit eccentric, maybe British or Japanese even. Not so today. The Audi A7 here takes the formula instigated by the original Mercedes-Benz CLS, the 4-door executive saloon coupe thingy, that is, and makes it more practical. What we have here, people, is the 5-door executive coupe thingy. And so we can look at the boot numbers compared to other niche type cars that are similarly large-ish and executive-like, and we can see that the A7 stacks up quite well. But what that doesn't give you is a feel for the brilliantness of the A7's massive hatchback. It's huge and it's low and it's easy to load, and it makes the A7 feel much more practical than it probably really is. However, it doesn't have quite the same sense of spaciousness in the cabin. It does have 5 seats, but it's probably fair to say that this is more family hatchback large than it is executive saloon large. It's mainly headroom that's the issue. Coupe style roofline means there's not a massive amount of it. If you're on the taller side and you spec a sunroof like this car has, you might have to shorten your quiff down a little bit. It's really long too. Just to give you a feel, the Honda Civic, which feels broadly similar in interior dimensions terms, is this long, while the A7 is this long. In car length, that is a massive difference. In fact, the A7 is a mere 4mm off the length of a Land Rover Discovery, a huge SUV. Its long and low and wide proportionality makes it feel massive on the road, bit clumsy at times, a problem that's exacerbated by the way this car's set up. I'll come back to that. To roll back a bit, I actually ran a last generation A7 for a few months and I absolutely loved it. Mostly because Audi made it feel like a luxury car in the way it drove, gliding over stuff, the old magic carpet ride. It was quick and it was relaxing and all the other good qualities that you associate with a proper executive car, all the while looking amazing. We'll come back to the looks part in a minute. This time it seems like Audi's engineering team is trying to push things back over into a place you'd probably call sporty. Even with £2 worth of adaptive damping, a lot of the time the A7 feels like it doesn't really know what it's supposed to be. It's not catastrophic, and certainly nobody's going to get into this and say that it's uncomfortable, but it's just kind of a bit confused. Like the body control's quite floaty, but then it kind of judders over the road. So it's got that unusual juxtaposition of feeling wallowy and harsh at the same time, which is no doubt partly because any A7 is going to be on massive wheels. You don't ever get a sports car-like experience because, again, this is just too big and clumsy. And yet, it's never really luxurious in the same way as a big Mercedes would be, say, because of that thing about it being quite jittery. The engine is fantastic though. For those of you who don't know, Audi recently changed its badging structure. I say recently, it was nearly a year ago now. Whoo, time flies when you're getting old. So the output of the engine is represented by a number. Now as I'm stood here today, the A7 operates using only the top 2 numbers, but it'll soon expand in both directions. But it will probably remain the case that this particular car will be the one that you want to buy, the one badged 50 TDI Quattro, which means it's a 3-litre 6-cylinder diesel with 286 PS's and driving all 4 wheels through an 8-speed automatic gearbox. And bloody hell, it's quick, right? Put your foot down, little pause, bosh, off it goes. Actually, it sounds okay too. It's got this distant 6-cylinder thrum about it, which isn't that diesel-y and therefore is quite nice. Economical too, partly because of the whole compression combustion shtick, but also because it has a clever hybrid system that uses a big-ass battery to help the car coast at motorway speeds with the engine shut off. It also has a start-stop system that's linked to a camera, which can see when the car in front is pulling away and turn the engine on automatically at that point. Clever shit. But another thing Audi appears to have done is calibrate the fast pedal with efficiency in mind, which Unfortunately, it makes it really clunky and annoying because it behaves in binary fashion. So like the first 50% of travel, car doesn't really do much, and then bosh, off it goes. Because the engine is so good, so quick, it just means that it like strengthens the effect of the throttle being an off-on switch. And that just makes like normal, gentle driving a bit clunkier and a bit more difficult than it really should be. Although that infuriation is well and truly offset by a cabin that is, in my opinion, one of the best ever committed to a production car. And one of only 2 cabins I can think of, the other one being a Tesla Model S, that actually looks like a concept car. Not just that it has elements of a concept car, but that you could see spinning around on a platform surrounded by European car men.
It's the final countdown.
You can count the number of physical buttons in here on one hand, if you've got a hand with 6 fingers, because most of it's controlled by these 2 really well integrated touchscreens, but they've got haptic feedback, so when you press them they click, and it's just like a nice touch, literally. And the software is worthy of the design. It's actually been thought through, so it's intuitive and it works in non-frustrating fashion. It's all standard fit too, including virtual cockpits so that you can get your sat-nav directions on a big map that's right in front of you and has detailed topography. And of course, this being an Audi, it's all solid. And not just car interior solid, Terry Crews solid. It's sitting here rather than the physical act of driving this car that'll make you want to spend your money on it. But what's disappointing for me is that while the A7's taken a Hulk-like leap forward in cabin ambience terms, the rest of it's either stayed still or gone backwards, arguably. Just feels ordinary by comparison, which is the opposite of the last car, which was, and still is, a bold and beautiful design, and that's a very hard tightrope to walk. Just ask Chris Bangle. He's the one who did that really ugly Big Butt 7 Series. This one's a lot more generic looking somehow, and to my eyes at least, the back end is skirting with being plain ugly. Again, like the last A7 was unashamedly luxurious. Whereas, like, even though this has no doubt made technical leaps forward, quieter engines, more economical, better NVH, more mechanical grip, so on and so forth, the way it's set up quite often makes it feel like watching a goalkeeper trying to dribble.
Nodded away, here's James. That was a goalkeeper's effort if ever there was one.
So you put it into sport. I'm going to put it into sport, right? Which is called dynamic, obviously. And even then, there's just like this big pause in the throttle response. So you brake, go into a corner, come out, put your foot down, and actually that wasn't too bad. Okay, we've got a sharper corner here, so brake, foot down, foot. It's just too big a pause, and the car feels too big. I mean, it's not unenjoyable, and it certainly feels like well engineered and like it's got loads of grip, but in a strangely floaty, clumsy sort of a way. Well spec'd though. At the minute, there are only 2 trims called Sport and S-Line. They're predictably both full of stuff and really require no messing with the options list. Although you probably will, won't you? Adaptive damper, better stereo, bigger wheels, that sort of thing. And what that'll do is jack the price up considerably, of course. The upshot is, even though this is one expensive posh hatchback, it doesn't necessarily have to be a ludicrously priced one unless you want it to be. The question then, and assuming you've not decided to spend your 60 odd grand on a 4x4 like every bugger else does, becomes, is this better than the other 60 grand-ish German stuff what's similar and that? And the answer is, of course, oh, time's up, sorry. I guess you'll just have to go to HonestJohn.co.uk to find out. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel and check out some of our other videos. People say they're the best car review videos on YouTube, and some of those people don't even work for Honest John. Yeah, I think the cliffhanger review ending will definitely take off. It's not annoying at all.